day, everybody. Welcome to the professors here. I'm Paul Fabrizio.
I'm Don Frazier.
And
I'm Scott the engineer.
Thank you.
Scott the engineer.
We're going to go around the table, and it's going to go right to you. And it's like, you got to say something now. First of all, we have to ask you, what's with the shirt?
You don't like my shirt?
With the velvet
I
Elvis shirt.
love the shirt. It's Velvis.
It's
Velvis.
I think you just made a new word. It's Velvis.
It's corduroy.
It's corduroy.
Yes.
Okay.
It's got the little pink horse on there, so you know.
Oh, it's beautiful. It's just beautiful.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. I thought I was trying to look good for y'all today because you know.
Because everybody can see us, right?
Exactly.
If we were doing a podcast.
Exactly. If we were, yes.
If we were. Okay,
Yes.
but we're not doing a podcast
No,
here.
we're just doing a show.
We're just doing a show here. Okay.
But I understand.
Okay, by the way,
It's not a show.
it's not a show.
It's a show.
It's a show.
So
It's a show.
If you're as confused as I am, that's okay. Shall we say where we're from? McMurray
Absolutely.
University,
Yeah,
right?
we are all in our happy home at McMurray University, a small Methodist-related liberal arts university in Abilene, Texas.
Methodist related.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means.
Well-
but we're affiliated. How about that? Is that a better
Okay.
word?
Well, we're related to the
We're
Methodists. We're
related.
sort of like Methodists, but different.
That's right. We're not quite Methodist here. But anyway, this is a Methodist university.
Yes.
So, and I have to say, this is our third podcast.
Correct.
And we have not yet identified the creature that is on the desk in front of Don Frazier. What is
I was
that?
the creature on the
What
show.
is that? And of course, nobody can see it because this is a podcast.
I will describe it in the theater of the mind.
It's a show.
It is not.
Yes, I will
So-
describe it in the theater of the mind.
Yes, you notice I'm just going after these visual images right
Yes,
now
absolutely.
on our podcast that is a show. Go
That's
ahead,
a
Don.
show. Yes,
so
please.
you have this creature right in front of you, and I think
Cast
we need
in
to talk
bronze.
about it. Okay.
Yes. That is
talk
a
about it.
feral pig. That is a wild hog eating a rattlesnake.
Really?
Cast in bronze. Yes, because that is the logo of the McWhinney History Education Group, which is the organization that essentially sponsors this show.
Oh, so we should be appreciative of the McWhinney.
It's subliminal,
Education
but it's right there, yeah.
Group. Okay. So why the hog, the feral hog, eating the rattlesnake? Why? I mean, there's many things you could have chosen.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The reason it's a feral hog eating a rattlesnake is that is actually brought in bronze out of an illustration from 1854 in Harper's Weekly magazine of a range hog in Alabama eating a rattlesnake. Now, why did we we go to an 1850? Yeah,
we're here in
answer the question.
Texas.
Yes. All right. Because we are the McWhinney History Education Group, we take our name from Grady McWhinney. Grady McWhinney was the professor of Old South and Civil War at Texas Christian University, where I did my graduate work.
Okay.
So, worked with Grady there, and he established his foundation and asked us to use his estate to further the cause of history education and education in general. And so when we were looking for a logo for his organization, we pulled it from his book, Cracker Culture, and the illustration we pulled was the 1854 Harper's Weekly image of a range hog eating a rattlesnake. Now, why that particular image? I mean, this is a
Exactly.
long way around to get to the barn, but because one of the
Interesting way to look at it.
one of the things that he argued in that book, and one of the things that makes Southerners unique, was that they come from a culture that is heavily influenced by immigration from Scotland and Ireland and places like that. And one of the things they practiced was open range livestock herding. And so you had wild pigs
Yes.
across the South. And the way that you would control them, of course, is with salt blocks and things like that. And you'd round them up and drive them to market. So you'd have big pig drives and big cattle drives. And so that we were looking for some sort of symbolism that encapsulated his research in one image. Feral pig eating a rattlesnake. Just seemed to pop out.
It just seemed to pop out. And, of course, here in West Texas is a problem with
Oh, my
feral
gosh.
pigs.
Yeah, there was a great YouTube video of feral pigs running through a Wiley neighborhood. And
Yeah,
it was a
just-
sound of about 30 pigs, too.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing.
You know
So,
what they say about feral pigs?
I have no idea. What do they say about
They
that?
usually have 4 piglets, and 5 live to adulthood.
Okay, and of course, there's always rattlesnakes around here.
And there's always rattlesnakes. So you think about, you can extend the metaphor even more. Are rattlesnakes bad? Well, generally considered bad. So what are we doing? We're gobbling up rattlesnakes. Whoa, think about that.
Do I have to?
Yeah, so we're not much to look at, but we do serve a function.
Yeah, okay.
So-
So, if anybody out there in Listenerville, wherever they're listening to us, were to come to Abilene, Texas, would they see feral hogs and would they see rattlesnakes?
Yes.
And is that a tourist thing?
I don't know that it's a tourist thing. I think it's just sort of the landscape. So like
Oh.
will they see a mesquite tree? Yes. I've only seen
And those hogs are as attractive as mesquite trees, too.
so
I'm sorry, they're just not very attractive.
you'd have to. Yeah, have you ever been up close to one?
A mesquite tree?
No.
No,
One of these feral pigs.
hogs? No.
Man, I shot one. I've shot plenty, but went to open its vein with a knife, and it is covered with louses.
Ooh.
Yeah, there's all these pig lice, I guess. And as I'm drawing my blade across that pig carcass, I mean, they're running ahead of the
Oh!
I mean, it was grim. All full of bristles and stuff. Yeah, they're not particularly charming animals, that's for sure.
So, is the meat good, though?
No. If you get a pig that's a wild pig that's bigger than about 80 pounds,
Throw it away
well, they say that the best way to prepare it is probably to dig a pit,
and bury it?
put it in the pit wet burlap
Okay.
with some coals and stuff, then go ahead and bury it and let it just cook in the ground. Meanwhile, you go to McDonald's. Yeah, exactly right. Just walk away from the pig.
Okay.
I don't know. Have you ever had wild hog?
Scott
Yes,
the
I've had
engineer?
I have had wild hog. Football size ones are the best.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Smaller, those old big ones are not good.
Does it taste anything like the meat that you would buy, the ham that you would get at a store?
No.
No.
No, it really doesn't. It's
No.
very, very lame.
It doesn't taste like if
Really?
you cut a ham off a wild hog and you had a ham from the grocery store. It's not going to taste anything
Which do you prefer?
similar. Oh, yeah, the ham from the store.
The ham from
Yeah,
It's
Cure
just-
81, please.
Yes.
So these feral pigs here, these feral hogs, are just a disaster for South Texas. I mean, all of Texas.
All of Texas. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
and they're not
just
even
Texas.
good.
It's not
Deep.
just Texas. I mean, they're all through the South, all the way to Florida. Everybody has a problem with pigs.
Yeah, I mean, Arkansas Razorback.
Yeah,
Same
that's
thing.
what they are.
Piney Woods Rooter.
Yeah.
Same thing. Yeah. So
And so we celebrate them on this show. Is
we
that what we're
celebrate
doing?
them with our logo because they are an emblem of the southern part of the United States, which is where we're from.
Where the show is originating from.
Absolutely.
I have to tell you, I'm not a Southerner.
You're a Cali guy.
I'm a Californian, born and raised, believe it or not, in a hospital on Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood.
right next
Okay?
to, right
Can't
next
get
to
more.
the Skid Row guy.
That's right. Can't get more Hollywood than that.
You do have good hog hunting out in the mountain areas outside of L.A.
But who
College
goes there?
Pickerings
Who
and
goes there?
Javelitas. I watched it on TV. They had a whole show about it. So,
You watch hunting shows, don't you?
well, of course I did.
Okay. In that shirt?
Yes,
Yeah. I just love the shirt.
it's my favorite.
With his girlfriend pawing at him and purring.
Okay.
You don't watch hunting shows?
You don't watch hunting?
I
shows?
don't.
I don't either, so.
Only if I just happen across them and it,
And it was interesting what was going on.
Yeah.
They usually say, here we are in the thicket.
Yeah, here we are in the thicket.
Okay. And we see something over there. And then I turn the channel to something else.
Well,
So-
they hunt these guys with helicopters out here.
Yeah, I
that,
know.
That I would watch.
See,
that I would do.
Now that's really cool. That's a Texas thing. Do they do that in any other states, by the way? Do
You know, I just don't know.
I don't know if they're helicopter hunting in any other state or not. I would assume that they are.
I imagine the cover's
legally
so close.
or not?
I imagine the cover's so close that it's tough to get.
Well, that's the good thing about it. There's no in Texas. There's no season on those. They're you see them, shoot them.
We just don't want them.
Exactly.
Where did they come from originally?
Well, the
I
Spanish
turned to
brought
the
'em.
historian. The Spanish brought them.
Spanish brought them. One of the ways that they would provision a new area that they were going to occupy is they would just kick the hogs over the side of the boat and let them swim to shore and populate. Now,
That's what they would do?
absolutely, because pigs float. They can swim pretty well.
They can.
I had no idea.
And so the Spanish dumped off a bunch. The English colonists brought some with them. And so if you're free range raising them, some of them are just going to go wild.
And they have.
And they have.
And they cause billions of dollars of destruction here in Texas.
Yeah, because they eat your crops. They eat the back end of some down calf. I mean, they'll eat anything.
And they don't taste good, apparently.
And they don't taste good, so you might as well shoot them with machine guns from a helicopter.
Right. And there you go. Yeah. There is a lot of people that do eat them, and I don't want to offend anybody that does eat the wild hog, but another thing you got to look out for now is the bobcat worm in them. That's a new deal that came out a couple of weeks ago.
Yum.
Okay, we're actually here to talk about presidents, and we'll do that in 3 seconds. And we're back, and this is Paul Fabrizio. And
I'm Don Frazier.
we're the professors here with Scott the engineer, and we're coming to you live. Is this live, or is this tape? Is this Memorex?
Yeah.
No, this is live.
This is
Not
live.
Memorex.
We're
Okay.
coming to you live, but by the time you see it, we may be dead.
Or as they say on Stephen Colbert's show, live on tape.
Live on tape.
There you
Yes.
go.
It's a show live on tape.
Okay, but not a podcast
It's a show.
on Memorex.
It's a show.
It's a show. So
Show.
we actually want to talk about presidents today.
You
Now,
probably do. You're a political science professor.
I'm a political science professor. You're a historian.
correct.
And Scott, of course,
I'm just a concerned citizen.
he's a concerned citizen.
who has to live with the decisions made by presidents. So, hey, that gives you skin in the fight.
Yeah. And President's Day is coming up. In fact, yesterday was George Washington's birthday.
Yeah, today's Mardi Gras. I'm not sure why we're not talking about that, but okay.
What a great idea! Why didn't we talk about Mardi Gras?
I have no idea. Because we're talking about presidents. You called the shots.
I called the shots. Okay. let's talk about presidents on Mardi Gras then.
I think that's appropriate.
Have any presidents ever celebrated Mardi Gras? What is Donald Trump doing today?
That's a very good question. I have no idea. I wonder if he's biting into a king cake and pulling a baby out of it.
He very well could be.
He's often accused of eating babies, so.
Now, let me just ask. Okay?
Yes.
So, Mardi Gras, of course, is the day before
Ash
Wednesday, which
Correct.
is a religious holiday.
Correct.
Can presidents commemorate religious holidays like Ash Wednesday?
Yeah, I imagine that you probably had presidents that went to Ash Wednesday services.
We've only had one Catholic.
I wonder
Now,
if there's any pictures of JFK with ashes on his forehead. That's in your ballywick.
No, that's yours. It's history now.
Well,
But it's a really interesting question. I was thinking the same thing.
is this Fat Tuesday?
Yeah, Mardi Gras.
Okay, so that's what I was saying.
So-
So that's the religious term for Mardi Gras. Is
Well, no,
Fat
it's just
Tuesday,
the-
right?
Well, it depends on where you're from and all that.
It's
stuff.
not really a religious thing. It's just it's a tradition that's hooked into the religious.
In
idea.
other words, party like crazy before you
Before you
can't
can-
party anymore.
Right. That's what. Okay. So
So
I
yeah.
didn't know if it was all tied together.
Mardi, which is Tuesday, Gras, Big Tuesday,
Big
or
Tuesday.
Fat one.
Fat Tuesday.
Okay,
Okay.
now I understand.
Yeah. Would you like some beads thrown at you?
It'll go with that shirt you're wearing.
It would.
Again with the shirt.
We're going to be merciless on this shirt.
And I am really interested to know if there's any photos of JFK with ashes on his forehead.
I bet there is.
Now, we ought to have
Because-
one of our student assistants look that up. I wonder if there's
Yeah.
any way they can do that. Oh,
I
well.
don't know. We'll
We'll
find
see.
out.
We'll see if it magically
Yeah.
appears. All
But
right.
but think about it. JFK was the first Catholic
Yeah.
and who got elected to the presidency, and on top of that, he wanted to make sure he got the Catholic vote. So, despite his lifestyle,
Yeah.
he made sure he went to church
Absolutely.
on Sundays. And Ash Wednesday, while not a holy day of obligation, he might have gone to church anyway
It would have made for
to
good
get
optics.
the ashes. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. I want to say I've seen a picture of his brother, Bobby Kennedy, with ashes on his forehead.
Huh.
So, now,
Now, there's plenty of Episcopalian presidents.
right, and they don't get ashes on their forehead, do they? Or do they?
Yeah, I think.
I
well,
don't know.
who knows? We're in a
Yeah,
we're in a
we're
town
in a
that-
Methodist school.
and we're also at a time when a bunch of the Protestant, denominations are drawing in a lot of the old Catholic forms of
Right.
religious observance.
Right. When you were growing up, did you celebrate Ash Wednesday?
We didn't celebrate Christmas or Easter
Okay.
because that was that was something that those Catholics did.
That's right.
But now, I'm at used to be considered a fairly conservative Protestant denomination that's not Methodist. And we're doing things like, wearing collars.
What? The ministers are?
Yeah, well, at least one does.
Oh, my.
And there's nothing that says you can't. And so he's got his
So
dog
he's
collar
doing it.
on, yeah. And we've gone to instrumental music, which is not part of this tradition.
Whoa.
I'm talking mandolins and keyboards, and so
That's so radical.
it is radical. I mean, I couldn't have even imagined this 20 years ago. So, anyhow.
Okay. So let's go back to Mardi Gras then.
Yeah.
When did that really get going? Do you know off the top of your
Well,
head?
it's been going on for a long, long time now. When did Louisiana glom onto it?
Is that where it really got going here in the United States?
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I just don't know much about the history of it. I haven't thought that much about it.
It's
So all I can think of is Carnival in Brazil.
yeah, well, it's all same. But Louisiana, once it became a tourist destination, I mean, Louisiana is a crafted tourist environment,
Whoa.
and all this happened in 1930s, 1940s. Oh, student assistant just came through. There's a picture of JFK. JFK.
Okay, we're going to see this now. Look at that.
Wow.
There it is. That's
Yeah,
fantastic.
Photoshopped.
Yeah.
but-
Yeah.
It probably is photoshopped.
No, it looks really good on him.
Good
So,
work, Christopher.
I'm sure the priest went all out and putting those
Yeah.
ashes on his
There's
forehead.
no
so.
way that's real.
Oh, you don't think so?
I think that's photoshopped. I know he's going to try to zoom in and get a tight shot of it, but anyhow.
Okay.
Louisianans crafted New Orleans as kind of a debauched place to go and play in the 1930s and 1940s, and all this.
So like a Las Vegas.
Yeah, sort of a Las Vegas, because it was always kind of a seedy port city.
Okay, so it fit.
And so it fit, and so they said, well, as long as we're going to have a seedy port city,
Let's have some fun while
let's
we're
have
there.
some fun with it. And so, look, that's a great image there.
That's a fantastic image. Yeah, is it real?
You okay there?
No,
Yeah.
I'm getting all choked up thinking about Mardi Gras and
Yeah.
our poor slain president.
Yes.
Looks
I'm
like-
just curious if you can find that. The first Catholic candidate for president was.
I know this.
Yeah, you do.
Forget it.
He ran 1928. Smith.
That's right.
Alfred
Smith.
Alfred Smith. He was the first Catholic candidate, first Catholic nominee for president
Correct.
from one of the two major parties. Do you think our crack student assistant could find a picture of him with ashes?
Now that would be the challenge.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's pretty cracked.
Yeah.
So New Orleans, everything that you experience in New Orleans is on purpose.
Okay.
And so that they tend to make you think that it's always been this way in New Orleans, and gosh, we hearken back to these French colonial roots and these Spanish colonial roots, and well, sorta. It's sort of like paste pecani sauce, saying that hey, we harken back to our authentic Mexican roots. Yeah, sorta.
From New York.
Yeah, from New York. And so they went out of their way to craft the French Quarter, the Vieux Carré, the Old Quarter. Problem is, it's not French. All that architecture is Spanish colonial, because the French city burned down.
When did the French city burn down?
1750s. And so it all burns down. When the Spanish take over, they rebuild it. And so that's why New Orleans looks a lot like Havana or places in like Cartagena. And
Really?
yeah, absolutely. It's not French at all. It's actually Spanish colonial.
But all the names are French.
Well, absolutely, because the streets didn't burn.
Just the building.
So Iberville still makes sense to call it Iberville. Bourbon, fine.
Okay. We're going to have to cut you off for a second. We got to go. We'll be back. And we're back, right? He's pointing at me. I hope
got
that means
his gnarled
that we're-
claw. It's like the ghost of Christmas future.
I'm just gonna start going. Go.
Okay, that would be
whatever.
great because I was trying to follow.
You're the
his
engineer,
fingers
man. You do
and
whatever you want.
His fingers were doing all sorts of strange things. Anyway, hi everybody. We're back. This is the Professor's podcast. I'm sorry, the Professor's show. And I'm Paul Fabrizio.
And I'm Don Frazier.
I'm Scott, the engineer, and y'all. Yes.
It's so sad we don't even give him a last name.
Well, it's because he's Afghani.
He's Afghan.
He's from a clan.
He's from a clan, the clan of engineers.
That's right.
Sort of a Scottish sort of thing.
Yeah.
Which goes back to our
Scott Mac Engineer.
Yeah, very good.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, he's a very talented guy. Here.
There's our
Yeah,
president.
we have a picture.
Because we have a very crack research crew here at
That's
this
true.
university.
That's right. And 10 points to whoever gets that guy's name without us saying it. And, of course, we all know. So
Yeah, we said it in the last segment.
Okay, if you weren't listening.
And it kind of goes along with people that work with metal or gold.
Smith.
Ding, ding, ding.
My first thought was Miner. And it was
Miner, yeah.
It's
Billy Miner.
Yeah, it's Billy Miner. No, that's Alfred Smith.
Alfred Smith.
Democratic candidate for president. What year? 24 or 28?
I think 28.
28. His vice presidential nominee was Franklin Roosevelt, right?
Then it had to be 24.
Okay. We need to look this up.
Yeah, you're the professor of political science here.
Yeah, that's history, though. Come on, come on. We have enough trouble just trying to keep up with what President Trump is doing. So, okay.
Is he eating king cake today was a question that never got answered.
But while we don't know the answer to that question,
Yes.
I did, during the break, type in presidents and Mardi Gras.
Dun, dun, dun.
And the second thing that came up was President John F. Kennedy meets with the Mardi Gras Queen.
Yeah, he would. Mardi Gras would have been his scene, man.
Exactly. Well,
he'd have been throwing beads.
He probably would have.
Absolutely.
So there is a delightful picture.
Was Jackie with him that day?
I doubt.
I don't see Jackie. I see a lot of young women. President John F. Kennedy meets with the Queen of Mardi Gras and her court in the Oval Office.
In the Oval Office?
In the Oval Office. And not only that, are we ready for this? Also meets with the United States National Forestry Queen.
Wow.
I had no idea the United States had a forestry queen.
Me neither.
What was that man doing?
He's taking Al Smith away.
If we do want to put it up, but just a second. That was very good of you to just walk in as that. So, and
Does anybody
also
know how to run a set?
no,
Apparently
obviously
not.
not.
They're
But this
wandering in, wandering
is
out.
a podcast. I'm sorry, it's a show, so we could do anything we want.
It's the theater of the mind.
Yeah, there you go.
Exactly. You got it.
Yes. Now, what do you think the United States National
So let me get
Forestry
this straight.
Queen? Hang on,
Okay.
I'm first.
All right, go.
What do you think the United States National Forestry Queen is holding when she meets with President John F. Kennedy and the
Don't
Mardi
say
Gras crew?
Don't say it.
A twig.
No.
Some kind of wood.
No.
I didn't say it. He did.
Well, she's the forestry queen.
That's right.
She holding a
Smokey
squirrel?
the Bear.
Smokey the Bear.
Smokey the Bear. So
it might have
I'm
been-
going to
Who, by the way,
Yes.
was originally from Mississippi.
I thought he was from New Mexico.
No, I thought he was from.
And actually, we did pronounce his name
Maybe
wrong.
he
It's
was from
Smokey
Mexico.
Bear, not Smokey the Bear.
Smokey Bear.
It's
You're
Smokey
right. It
Bear.
says Smokey Bear doll. Yeah, and how do you
Well,
spell
hang on.
Smokey?
I thought that.
Is it EY?
E-Y.
EY.
I thought TR was shooting bears in Mississippi, and that's where
That's where the teddy
bear came from. I get my
That's where-
bears mixed up.
yeah.
All right.
But Smokey Bear actually did he was a actual bear cub that was in a fire. You're exactly right. And he got his paws burned, and they took him in, and that he was the mascot. That is where Smokey Bear came from. Yes.
From New Mexico is what I understand.
Yes, that's what I understand also.
I met a man here in Abilene who said that it was his dad who actually found the Smokey Bear.
All right, so
there we go.
We've established what the forestry queen is holding.
Okay.
What about
Smoking-
the Mardi Gras queen? What's she holding?
Well, if we could get our camera crew to take a picture of this.
Oh, he's too busy wandering in and off shot, man. How is he
yeah,
gonna get that
look
shot?
at that. Look at that.
Yeah. Oh,
What do you see?
she
Can you get
is-
any
yeah.
closer to that?
No, that's it. That's the extent of our technology.
Okay, and for those
You
of you
have
who
a
are
ratchet phone, by the way.
I like
All
that
beat
tape
up.
on the screen.
Yeah, I like that. Man,
Hey.
don't they pay you anything at this school?
Don said ratchet.
And I said ratchet because I'm extraordinarily hip. Thank you.
I don't even know what he's talking about, but I'm extraordinarily old, so it's okay. So anyway, there you go. That is the first mention I could come across.
And
of
look
a
what's
US
peeking
president.
out from behind. The pig eating the snake.
There you go.
Okay, there
So-
you go. All right. So anyway, yes. What were we talking about?
We were talking about presidents and Mardi Gras.
And there's the only example. And we don't know how our president, Donald Trump, is celebrating today,
Or if he's celebrating.
or if he's celebrating. He is doing something with Black History Month today.
Okay.
There's a reception this afternoon. So, beyond that, I don't know what
In
else he's
D.C.,
doing.
I'm assuming.
Yes, in D.C. So, anyway, Don, any other presidents who you recall celebrated Mardi Gras besides President John F. Kennedy?
Yeah, I'm trying to think if President Jefferson Davis of the Confederacy
Confederacy.
celebrated Mardi Gras because he had a connection with New Orleans. But it'd be interesting if it was a post-bellum celebration
Okay,
when he was no longer president of nothing.
and that would be which president are you talking about?
Jefferson Davis.
Jefferson Davis. Okay. Andrew Jackson had a connection
He did have a connection with
to New Orleans.
but I'm not. And he was there during Mardi Gras of 1815.
Okay.
But I just don't know. I know that there's a very famous Jackson farewell dinner in April of 1815. I've seen the menu. I've seen it recreated.
Was it good?
I've never eaten it. The menu looks delicious.
It looked delicious.
There's a lot of oysters involved.
No wild hog.
No wild
No
hog.
wild hog.
No wild hog.
Okay, he just didn't like the taste of them. He preferred McDonald's.
Well, it was easier to go rake up some oysters.
Yeah, I guess so. So, when did Mardi Gras really take hold in the United States? I mean, we're a Protestant nation
Correct.
historically.
But we love a party.
But do we? I mean, think back to the Puritans. The Puritans didn't like parties.
Well, they had one with the Indians where they served turkey.
Yeah, that
I've
was
seen
it.
paintings.
And was that a party?
That was off the hook, man.
But was that a party?
Yeah, because they were celebrating the harvest.
Okay. They didn't celebrate Lent.
No,
And they
because
didn't
that's
celebrate
what those
Mardi Gras.
Catholics do.
So when did this idea of Mardi Gras really take hold?
Well, look, it's like any other sort of celebration.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes commercialized, and people
Okay.
are making money off of it. I mean, have you ever been to the Mardi Gras parade barns where they do all the floats?
No,
Holy
but Scott
smokes.
the engineer has.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's pretty amazing. It's huge.
it is absolutely huge, and the way they've got the city organized into crews, I mean, it is absolutely the warp and weft of New Orleans society.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a very strong commercial incentive to maintain it, make it bigger and more off the hook. But there's also political ramifications for which crew you're in, etc. But think about things like Cinco de Mayo.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
That seemed to be getting more popular as we go along.
because it's a great day to drink Corona.
A great trade.
Well, I mean, because they just started commercial.
And Dos Equis, right?
And cerveza mexicana in todos. And so, that becomes a thing because of commercial interest. Really, Cinco de Mayo was more of a pueblo. It was a regional celebration. And I said Puebla. Puebla, state of Puebla, city of Puebla. Because it had to do with a battle that was won on the 5th of May, 1862. But if you ask the average person on the street, what is the Cinco de Mayo, they'll say, it's Mexican Independence Day
Right.
or
Right.
something else. But it's actually an obscure little battle won by Porfirio Diaz and others. And when he was dictator of Mexico, he said, we'll make it a national holiday and get away from all these Catholic celebrations. And so it became a secular holiday. And with immigration to the United States, this is one of the holidays that came north, but we celebrate it more here
Than they do in Mexico.
than they do in Mexico. And, you could point to Juneteenth as being another phenomenon.
Mm-hmm. I never heard of it until I came to Texas.
Yeah, well, because you're from California.
Right, but I lived in Georgia, and it wasn't brought up in Georgia.
Wasn't brought up in Georgia then, but I guarantee it is now.
Right.
And so that became sort of a black national holiday in the United States, where it has evolved into one. Mm-hmm. And it's all based on the day that Gordon Granger arrived in Galveston, Texas, and read the Emancipation Proclamation on the dock saying, hey, if you think you're enslaved in Texas, you aren't.
You're all free.
Yeah, y'all are all free. And so that became the 19th of June, or Juneteenth. And now it's really heavily celebrated in places like Minnesota.
Amazing.
It is.
How this all travels like that. Okay, we're going to take another break, and we'll return.
Go.
It's the hook. The hook is spoken.
I thought engineers were supposed to be seen but not heard.
No, he's heard a lot.
He's heard a lot. Okay, thank you, Scott the engineer.
You're welcome.
You did a great job.
You couldn't figure out the finger. So.
No, I could figure out the finger. And that was the problem. It sent the wrong message. Hey, everybody. We're the professors here. And I'm Paul Fabrizio.
Don Frazier.
And I'm Scott the engineer.
I just love that. Anyway, we were going to talk about presidents, but we got diverted.
It's called bird walking in our profession. Whenever you can get the professor to talk about whatever he whatever he doesn't want to talk about, because you come in with the lecture all lined up, and this is how you're going to handle this material. It's on the syllabus, and if you can just get him diverted.
That's right. Little tangent, and that they stay for the whole show.
Next thing you know, he's talking about his cat digging up pot plants. Absolutely.
So he's doing it again.
I know. It's like, do I go there and talk about why your cat is digging up your pot plants?
Almost got you, though. You were leaning into it. I could see it.
It's like, do I go there? No. Okay, so let's go back to New Orleans.
Well, you're
Mardi Gras.
California. It has a whole different meaning for you.
That's true. So let's go back to Mardi Gras in New Orleans.
Yes, let's.
I was really intrigued by the fact that you said it's a Spanish city. The buildings are Spanish.
Yeah, the Veau Carré is actually Spanish architecture that you're looking at.
What is the difference between Spanish and French architecture, to show my ignorance of things?
The wrought
and I've
iron.
been to New Orleans.
The wrought iron is really Spanish Caribbean. And the French city was wood. That's why it burned. And the Spanish said, let's use bricks. And it won't burn as readily.
So when you go there, where do you see the Spanish influence besides the architecture? Because how long
The
were
Cabildo?
Okay, what's that?
Well, that's the big old civic hall that's right there at Jackson Square. That was the seat of government during the Spanish period in New Orleans.
Okay, give me a timeline here.
All right, so New Orleans is established in 1718, I think.
Okay.
And the French are running it until 1763, and then they give it to the Spanish.
Mm-hmm.
The Spanish pick it up from there, and they run it all the way to the Louisiana Purchase in 1803. So,
And then 1803, it becomes part of the United States.
becomes part of the United States, and it becomes a seedy port town, and really kind of scrungy.
When Andrew Jackson fought the Battle of New Orleans
Yep.
in 1814,
Took a little trip.
did he describe
Bacon and beans.
did he describe New Orleans in unpleasant terms?
You know, I don't know how he described New Orleans. You know, he was moving over from Alabama and his operations against the Creeks. And so New Orleans was still a frontier town in many ways.
Mhm.
And so it was not yet in full flower. You know, you need to have a really big industrial revolution
Mm-hmm.
in the Midwest, places like Chicago and Gary, Indiana, so that you can have lots and lots of barges heading down to New Orleans.
Down the Mississippi.
Yeah, that's right, down the Mississippi. And so that's when it really takes on its industrial scale. And with that industrial scale kind of came some of its urban blight.
Okay.
Now, it's always been in a pretty rough climate.
Mm-hmm.
But as long as it was a commercial center for things like sugar and cotton and agricultural products, you don't have a bunch of the foundries and all that sort of heavy industry that starts to move in the late 19th century, early 20th century. And so you get a lot of the things that come with an industrialized city, and the people in New Orleans were going, well, we got to do something to kind of brighten up our image. And so they turned to tourism. Now, World War II helps because there's a lot of people that ship through and out of New Orleans. So a lot of the United States gets to visit New Orleans, courtesy of Uncle Sam.
And they
that's-
like it.
Yeah, and that's where the PT boats are built, and that's where the landing craft are
I
built.
didn't know that either.
Yeah, the Higgins boats and things like that. And so all of a sudden, New Orleans is showcased because of the war. And that's when New Orleans really starts letting the good times roll. And so then in the 50s, it becomes a destination for conventions.
Okay.
And that kind of rolls all the way
As
in.
people started driving around.
Yeah, and as they were looking for places to meet, you know, New Orleans is now convention friendly.
Okay.
And then they have these festivals that are all fun and
Yeah.
full of frivolity,
Okay.
giant paper mache heads,
Okay.
things like that.
Yeah, and Scott the engineer is moving his fingers like this. I'm not quite sure what that means. So, Scott, do you want to tell us what that means before we got 2 minutes left? Okay, that's what it means. Okay. Don, since we were going to talk about presidents, we'll do that another time to celebrate President's Day.
Presidents are always going to be there, but today is Mardi
Gras. What's the appropriate way to celebrate Mardi Gras? In your perspective as a historian.
Wow, I'm not sure that there is an appropriate way.
What is an inappropriate way
There's
then?
plenty of inappropriate ways to celebrate Mardi Gras.
How should we go and celebrate this day?
Well, there's certainly some symbols that you can participate in. My favorite is the king cake.
Right.
And the king cake is essentially a glorified breakfast pastry coffee cake.
With a little baby.
Well, they
in it.
put a little baby in there, and if you get the baby in your slice of the king cake, then you're supposed to have a fine year.
Okay.
If you don't chip your tooth getting the baby out of the king
Yeah.
cake.
And
Yeah, it starts with a root canal, but other than that, everything goes up from there.
I do need to bring up one thing before we go off the air.
Yes.
That is that this Mardi Gras also falls on Ash Wednesday. And this apparently hasn't happened since World War II. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, how does that work exactly?
I'm sorry. Wait, did I say that wrong?
Yeah, you said that wrong.
I said it wrong. No, I'm sorry. Ash Wednesday, tomorrow,
Yes.
falls on Valentine's Day.
Yes.
That's it. I'm sorry.
That doesn't make sense whatsoever.
What I said before made no sense.
You have your fake religious holidays mixed up here.
Yes. Okay, but
I just
Valentine's Day.
Yeah, it's like, well, he's a professor. He should know.
No, my students know to correct me all the time. They go, "What are you saying, Dr. Fabrizio?"
I kind of had that puzzled look, but I was never the strongest student in college, so I was just sitting there putting it in my notes. My next question, of course, was going to be, is this on the exam, Dr. Fabrizio?
And the answer is no.
Yeah, because it's fake.
Yeah, it's fake.
Dr.
So,
Liar.
Valentine's Day and Ash Wednesday fall on the same day for the first time since World War II. So, what do you commemorate?
Or what do you give up?
Or what do you give up? Do you give up chocolate?
Oh, that's tough.
Isn't Valentine's Day a day of love and fun, and Ash Wednesday is a day of...
Of austerity and self-reflection.
Thank you. I was looking for the right words. So,
And ashes.
Yeah, and ashes.
And photoshopping JFK.
Yeah, so...
I don't know. In my church, we don't have to give up anything, so...
Yeah, in mine we do, so...
Well,
we're told to focus on Ash Wednesday.
I try to encourage good habits instead of eliminate bad habits.
So, therefore, celebrate today, and tomorrow you'll encourage good habits.
Yeah, tomorrow I'll probably, I have to go work out or something positive.
Okay, very good. Hey, we're going to get out of here now. We've got 10 seconds left, according to Scott the engineer, and we really appreciate his help.
And this has been The Professors, a show.
A show. We'll be back.